two companies, an Italian company and a foreign equity fund. They were fighting for almost a year. We get together. They were in a very tense situation. At the end, they found that they are much closer than they imagined. And after 1 year, they get more resources from the funds and more results from the company.
Welcome to the Product Agility Podcast, the missing link between Agile and product. The purpose of this podcast is to share practical tips, strategies, and stories from world-class thought leaders and practitioners. Why, I hear you ask? Well, I want to increase your knowledge and your motivation to experiment so that together we can create ever more successful products. My name is Ben Maynard and I'm your host. What has driven me for the last decade to bridge the gap between agility and product is a deep-rooted belief that people and products evolving together can achieve mutual excellence. In this episode, we dive deep into the power of questions and how they uncover tacit knowledge with our special guest, Fabrizio Faraco. Discover how asking the right questions can connect people, unleash their potential, and unlock valuable insights. So whether you're a product manager, agile coach, team leader, or aspiring entrepreneur, this episode will provide you with practical tips and real-life examples on how to enhance your facilitation skills, tap into the collective knowledge and wisdom of your team. So remember, stay tuned until the end because there's a little bit of gold in there for you. Now, if you love this episode or even just like it a little bit, please do recommend this to somebody that you like because they may also find Fabrizio's golden nuggets useful. So, let's dive in.
Now here we are, episode 2 of maybe 2, maybe 3. Let's see how long we talk for with Fabrizio Faraco. Now Fabrizio and I recorded an episode before this where we explored the origins of LEGO Serious Play and how it came into being, how LEGO Serious Play is a fantastic way to help people understand why, rather than the simple things that maybe we know, to delve a little bit deeper and create 3D tangible metaphors of our hands where it works beyond the limitations of our mind to recall things. I think Fabrizio said in the previous episode, we're not limited by capacity but by relevancy, and the power of using something which is 3D, particularly Lego, which is a fantastic tool, helps us recall and helps us grow our knowledge and share knowledge in an organization. So with all of that in mind, when we ended the last episode, we were talking about what we are going to explore in this one. And you said something, Fabrizio, which was just, I thought it was quite fantastic. And I've tried to write it down here, but I haven't done a very good job. Where you said that the real weapon of a facilitator is building the right question. So if you want to know more about who Fabrizio is, listen to episode 1. He gave a lovely introduction to himself, and there'll be some links in the show notes here too. But so that we give you the most valuable time possible listening to this episode, we're going to crack straight on with it. So Fabrizio, the real weapon of a facilitator is building the right question. Now that is a fascinating and rather teasing statement. Could you perhaps elaborate on that a little bit for us?
Yes. It's a weapon because facilitation progress through the facilitator asking questions.
Okay.
So first of all is the question per se that should be a good question. And the second is that it's a sequence of questions. And there is the right sequence in order to reach the goal. So you actually build questions starting from the end of the workshop.
Okay.
You have to figure out what is the results that you're going to produce during the workshop. Remember that you don't know the details because you're not part of the people. The solution emerged from the participant.
And I suppose it's worthwhile just mentioning here for those people that maybe haven't kind of had read much about facilitation or wondering how this is relevant. Facilitation, and Fabrizio, if I get this wrong or if you have a different idea, let me know. But as a facilitator, we have authority over the process, but not the content.
Absolutely.
So our job is to guide people on a process and let the content emerge from the people.
Yeah.
So whether we are an agile coach or a product manager or a product leader, product owner, scrum master, or even a team member working with users, actually facilitation, being able to ask the right questions to get the most from people without actually inferring or steering the direction ourselves, kind of being very neutral in that process, is a huge superpower to really untap the potential of the people around us. So just wanted to make sure, in case anyone's wondering, like, what on earth are they talking about? I just wanted to chuck my little definition in there.
Thanks. So you actually start from the results that you want to achieve. Okay. Now, based on that results, you build up a sequence of exercise or application technique if you're using Lego Serious Play, and a sequence of different questions. Now, the point is, why you just don't ask the final question? No, you remember in the in the first episode, I talk about the story of Lego Serious Play, the owner of Lego that wanted to actually answer to the question, I can really compete with Sony and Microsoft and the toy maker when our product is not anymore a toy, it's actually time of game of playing. Okay? Because if you ask the question like this, nobody has the answer. It's too tough. You need to reach the point in which you can maybe give an answer to that. So for us to answer, we should ask to ourselves, what do we need to know in order to answer to this question? We need to know what does it means, the product, the competition, the solution we got, the landscape where we are living, a common or shared idea of what we want to be into this new market, and so on and so forth. So what you're actually building is a series of questions which are tough enough to allow the people to go into the tacit knowledge, but not too tough to create frustration. And on the same way, they are good enough to build up knowledge on which you can rely for the next question. And that's what exactly is the flow theory. People need to get into the flow or the optimal state of mind in order to actually build new knowledge.
That doesn't sound easy, Fabrizio. If I'm honest, starting with end in mind, providing, as you said rather beautifully, enough challenge so that people are growing, but not so much challenge that they've become frustrated. I mean, that isn't an easy thing to do, surely.
It's actually very easy to say, very difficult to realize. Because
yes.
as a facilitator, you need to plan the workshop, all the questions. But during the workshop itself, you need to hold the space. You need to protect each one that have to say his own idea. You need to understand if someone is getting out of the flow and it's too frustrated or too bored, and so it doesn't really building. And if you just lose one into the flow, then for him or her to go back and give his own contribution is going to be very difficult. I'm using the holding the space in the sense that you actually hold the whole participant. It's not about you. It's actually make everybody a superstar during their own moment so that they have the time to actually communicate or construct the knowledge and allow the others to contemplate in order to build new knowledge.
This is one of the challenges with being any form of proper leader, I would say, is that you may be saying, look, we are going over here, and when we get there, it's going to be like this. And you're really, selling the vision, and people are buying into it. But if you want the organization to grow, if you want to tap into all of the potential, the ideas and stuff which isn't even known yet in that group, you can't be the person that's making all those decisions. You can you maybe set the direction, but you need to create a lot of freedom. So I suppose as a leader, team leader, product leader, as a any other leader you want to kind of prefix or suffix anything on the end there, but actually having this type of tool in your arsenal really does help you untap a lot of potential and allow you to scale, I suppose, and also then imbues some of that purpose into the people. I recorded a live stream recently where we spoke about the importance of having a shared purpose to resolving conflict.
It's actually it's not only you as a facilitator that holding the space, but you have to, in a sort of sense, allow each one of them to become a leader. No, because they have their own point of view, and it's not easy. When you say to a group of people, especially into a company, okay, it's time for you to write down on a post-it a solution. Well, you have different voices in your head that say, first of all, to me, there are plenty of people that have solution. Why are you asking to me? And then you have to open up your mind and say, okay, I'm writing down. And then when you place it on the wall, then another voice tell you, I'm not the right guy. There is, Frank is a friend of the boss, so it's always his ideas that. And you have to open your heart and allow to place it your idea. And by the way, if your idea is the one that has been chosen, you have to overcome the voice of fear. Oh my goodness. And now, if it's not the right solution, if I'm ruined everything, and then you have to open your will and let it happen. You see, it's this that make it difficult. You plan everything, but you know that most of the plan, they're not really happen.
Yeah. So when you're working backwards, when you're starting with the end in mind,
Yeah.
you're working backwards through it, and you plan out these questions. And I want to delve into some examples shortly, but how often does your plan not quite work out because something emerges? Like, how frequently does that occur?
It's quite frequent. As a matter of fact, you actually place some time that allow you to go deep. The typical situation is when, for example, you discuss about values. Okay, our company need to go ahead because we are these values. And now he actually didn't say which kind of values. And maybe the values are the point where the group is not really aligned. So you need to actually ask another question that you haven't planned yet and say, okay, let's talk about the values. Each one of you now built up something, some values that he considered suitable into his own, I don't know, identity of the company, situation, or some values that are positive, some of the values. You don't have to build company values because that I have no magic around. They're into a PowerPoint. So, okay.
There's no magic in
No.
company values. I'm going to get that on a t-shirt.
So we're talking about the values that had been mentioned, and you actually open up like a suitcase and say, okay, we understand that there is the suitcase of the value. Please open up the suitcase and see which kind of values we are talking about. Because maybe the value of accuracy for me is very important. And for someone else, the value of time to market, it's more important. So if we didn't open that suitcase, apparently we are on the same line, but on reality we are on a two different level. And that's where normally conflicts started.
Yeah. And I suppose using Lego is a great way
Yes.
to help people move through that conflict because they can talk about the model
Yeah.
rather than being overly personal.
Absolutely. Also because in Lego Serious Play, what you didn't be, you can talk only about what you built it. So if they built a brick, these are our value. They didn't actually build the specific value. So you have to ask a second round and say, okay, let's build the specific value that are connected with your model. And you don't ask to the single person, you ask to everybody.
Okay. So I, as mentioned, would love to hear some examples of these types of questions that you could ask and the process you go through. Because I know that this is not a silver bullet. We mentioned silver bullets before we started recording. This isn't the silver bullet. And we know that, we'll be things that emerge until you leave time for it to go deep, which I think is brilliant. Now, I'm just thinking for our listeners who are in the agile space, product space, product agility space, whatever it may be, or if I just plug another great podcast, if we're in the delivery space, great podcast, check it out. What are some examples of questions and outcomes which we could get our juices flowing so we can begin to think, okay, well, I'm interested in coming on a course, but I want to try and have a go at some of this first. Like, what's some examples?
I give you a very typical example. If I'm asking you build your ideal vacation, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, most of us will picture built with Lego, me on a beach with a cocktail in my hand on a very comfortable chair in front of the sea and the sun. Okay? But it's not a very good question. It doesn't really allow to make you add some value about it. Okay? But if I'm asking you, build a model to let me know how do you feel after an ideal vacation, then you unlock. First of all, it's not just a prototyping; it's just a chair, the sun, the umbrella, the cocktail. So it's more into how a vacation make you feel. So if I'm actually building a perfect holiday or a perfect vacation, I get much more information. I get much more details. I also understand what my client, if I'm, for example, doing a Lego Series play with potential client in a focus group or something like that. So the more you make the intangible visible, the more power you get in order to better understand your product.
So if I was going to facilitate a workshop around OKRs, is that something that you've got any experience with? What would be a starting point then for me as a facilitator? We're going to have a product team together, a good range of people there, and we're going to come up with 3 to 5 OKRs with some key results against them. What would be what could be some of those questions that we would ask?
I will ask about the purpose, why we are building this, what is the reason for building this, so that we can derive the objective in a way that is linked to the purpose of what we are doing. And allow also us to build the key metrics in a way that allow us to measure with respect of the purpose. Okay? I think
So again,
if we start from the purpose, it would be easier to actually agree on the objective and the key resources.
So always starting with
Yeah.
why, and then working out from there.
Okay.
Fabrizio, when you consider your most successful kind of Lego serious play, endeavor event like that you have facilitated, would you be able to share with us, I suppose, what you feel is your most favorite, most successful Lego series play event that you facilitated?
My favorite one is a strategy, real-time strategy workshop for a medium-sized company, which are listed into the Milan Stock Exchange. So we're talking about a very structured company. They're working in energy, okay? And it was some months before the energy crisis of last year. So when we did it, into a real-time strategy, you don't build a plan. You actually build a series of simple guiding principles that actually allow you to make decision in a committed and aligned way. Okay. So when you write down the 5 principles, normally it's between 5 and 7, they actually look very useless because they are
Yeah,
simple. They're simple guiding principle. Okay.
yeah,
Then the people, okay, they take it with them. They're very happy about it. They really enjoy. One of the things into facilitation that you get team building became stronger when you do workshop. But I had the feeling that they didn't really understand a real-time strategy because people are used to plan. Okay.
mm.
2 months later, the CFO called me and say, I need to thank you. We just place our flip chart with the 5 simple guiding principle into our C-suite because they have an open space for the people that in the team. And at the beginning was just reminds us of a very nice person, very interesting workshop, but something very on a side of our day-by-day activity. But then when the energy crisis arrives, they are actually buying some electricity or fuels for clients. So they are sort of intermediator. So the price fluctuation really affect them. They can go out of business very easily. And they said the fact that we have it there during the crisis was really our compass. Allow us during this turmoil moment to actually save our company and our life. So that was really good because the company, being a medium company, actually get more money during the crisis rather than losing money during the crisis. Another one was again related with strategy with 2 companies, an Italian company and a foreign equity fund. They were fighting for almost a year. So when we get together, they were in a very tense situation. At the end, they found that they are much closer than they imagined. And after 1 year, they get more resources from the funds and more results from the company. So they're both very, very happy. To tell you the truth is
So,
when what you have produced as a result really works.
mm. So in that first story, it sounds like it was as much the principles they produced as the memory of the experience of producing them.
It's also the memory, because obviously the simple guiding principle when you work with Lego Serious Play transcend the model, but they are stick into the model. So then you normally have a model that is a representation of the simple guiding principle. Then you remember the simple guiding principle, but as in your mind, in your memories, there is still the model itself. No? One was look beyond the wall, okay? Which is a stupid thing. But that's why when they see it written, it doesn't mean anything. But when you have to understand and make a decision, before taking the first decision based on the price, see outside the wall means look, let's see what's going on, see the scenario, the landscape in a wider way, and making maybe a decision that seems stupid now but it could be very good together. So for example, they stick into maintaining the supplier of gas the same, so that they experience a little bit of loss, but then as soon as the price go down, they experience a huge profit because they rise a little bit the price to cover the expenses, but they didn't get too much low when the world price went down, because the trend for the final user was still rising. So they just maintained the same price for the companies, and the companies were very happy because they say, oh, during this time in which prices are rising, we are still paying the same. But what they have been paid is actually declining. So they're getting more profit.
The second story you spoke about was an Italian company?
Both were Italian company. One was an Italian company listed at the stock exchange in Milan, and the other one was an Italian company owned by a foreign equity fund.
Yes, and Lego Serious Place. They started with the why, working backwards with your question formulation. With each of the questions, then you work. I mean, in this particular example with this equity firm, but each of the questions that you then posed, was it always Lego involved, or did you introduce some other?
I normally structure the question in a way that allows, first of all, to connect. So you frame before doing the question, the connection. So people start to enter into it. You remember the connect, construct, contemplate, and
Yes.
continue. Then you ask directly the question so that it's clear what people have to build or to write on a post-it. That's true for any kind of facilitation. Then you need to provide some good examples, because if you are facilitating, you are asking questions that bring people inside the tacit knowledge. So it's not an easy way to get inside it. No, you need to get out of your comfort zone. So you need to provide example to make it clear of what it's going to happen. And the framing in the beginning allow also to make them understand to go dive into their knowledge, because it's worthwhile to find a potential solution. So
That's all based around the 4 C's you mentioned there. So connect, construct, contemplate, and continue.
And the other good point is that, considering that we are talking to have different point of view, different solutions, different thing, a good question is someone that allow you to have multiple right answers.
So not something which enables only one right answer, but something that allows multiple right answers.
Yeah, because you make the thing emerge so they can judge among different things. Okay, you don't know if it's good chicken or veal or vegetables, so you need to emerge all of them so that the people can pick up the right one, and then they understand which is the right meal for them.
I wonder, you mentioned that, I wonder if we think about something along those lines for the next episode, because we've still got a little bit of time left, and I wonder if we come back for our third and final episode and perhaps we get quite practical. I'm not sure if this is an option, if you've got some really practical tips we can share with people, maybe not just around Lego Serious Play, but around
facilitating
Yeah.
for discovery and ideation more broadly. I think that would be nice to leave this little series with a nice icing on the cake, which would be some real practical tools and tips. Does that sound okay for you,
Yeah,
Fabrizio?
it's okay.
Wonderful. Well, we'll draw this episode to a close then. Fabrizio, again, thank you so much. That was enlightening. So, Fabrizio, before we end the episode, is there anything to share?
I would like to share the 4 values of facilitation, which actually are very good, cover all the methodology and framework. And I'm using the design sprint formulation, which say that in facilitation, we are working together, alone. Never start discussion before the individual had produced their own answer. The discussion are tangible, either a 3D model with Lego or a Post-it or a piece of paper. And we are talking of what you've written or what you have built it, not something that is not over there. The other important thing is that starting is better than being right. So get started. Also because sometimes you don't even know what is right. So there's no way that you have to think about. And the 4th one is that trust your creativity. There is no creative department that can solve you the problem. You are the person that have to find a solution. So
you are your own creative department. Fabrizio, that's gold dust. I love that. That's definitely going to be ending up on social media as a little clip. Thank you so much, Fabrizio. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And we'll come back for our 3rd and final episode in the usual period of time. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Product Agility Podcast. We hope you found our conversation with Fabrizio Faraco thought-provoking and insightful. From uncovering the unexpected unity in strategic showdowns to empowering leaders and unleashing the potential of every voice, we've explored the power of questions and tacit knowledge. Remember, it's not always about finding the right solutions, but also the experience of producing them can be equally as valuable. As Fabrizio shared, stepping out of your comfort zone and embracing creativity can lead to some remarkable outcomes. So let's connect, construct and contemplate as we navigate the ever-changing landscape of product development. We appreciate your support and feedback, and we look forward to bringing you more engaging episodes in the future. So stay tuned for our upcoming 3rd and final episode of Fabrizio. And until then, thank you again for listening. And remember, product agility is the key to unlocking innovation. Cheers and goodbye.